appreciate the opportunity to be with you guys today. It's super fun to be in a group. I was just talking about something that God's really teaching me about how we activate the creatives in our churches, in our ministries, and really find those fringes. And so, I just want to take a few minutes and talk about kind of how do you, one, discover your voice in unlocking that creative network. You got to really know who you are first. And then how do you empower others to do the same? And so, first of all, I'm just really glad to be standing in front of you. 6 weeks ago, I broke my leg, right? Craziest thing in the world. Playing soccer, broke my leg. I go to the doctor, and there's on the form, some of these forms are so silly. They're asking me what I was doing playing soccer. Well, what led up to this? I thought, I'm in my mid-30s. I probably shouldn't be playing soccer anymore. I don't know. So anyway, I'm just really glad to be standing in front of you, so it's super fun. But here's the thing. I believe as creatives, oftentimes, especially when we're trying to kind of discover that next idea and we're trying to move forward in something, I think sometimes it can be somewhat of a selfish process, very focused, inward, go to a cabin in the woods and be on your own and come up with this cool idea. And I just want to challenge us to think a little differently about creativity and think about that a little differently today. In other words, what if we could discover those ideas, that creativity in ourselves by empowering it in other people? What if we could kind of flip it on its head? See, creativity, here's what I believe about it. A couple things. One, I believe at its core, you're either solving a problem or you're kind of revealing something new that we never knew. Creativity is really turning imagination into reality. It's not just enough to be able to dream it up. I'm sure some of you as songwriters, you just have this thing in your head and you're trying to get it on paper. It's really hard to get it to that point. Creativity is that next step. It's actually seeing it into reality. And I think as we solve problems, we take advantage of new opportunities. There's no problem that's too small when it's important to someone. And I think in our creative networks and in churches that are around us, we need to, as I was mentioned just a few minutes ago, find the fringes. And there's different things that people are inspired by, and we can find new motivation, new ideas in that. And so I just want to challenge you. I'm going to give you 3 quick ideas. This is not comprehensive by any means, but it's just something I am learning, and I hope it's helpful to you. Just 3 things that just some thoughts about discovering our creative voice and then empowering others to do the same thing. So, first thought is this: embrace humility. Embrace humility. Here's what I mean by that. You don't know what you don't know. And just face it, just own it right now that someone is better at what you love, right? Someone is always going to be better. And you can either look at that as a limitation or you can view it as an opportunity. And what I mean by that is you can create a ceiling for yourself that you can be frustrated by, or you can create an opportunity to learn from someone new. And I just want to affirm you, people, the very fact that you're here is saying, hey, I want to learn something new. I want to learn from other people. I have benefited so much from being in groups like this and learning. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing that. And if there's someone in your community that can do it better than you, whatever that thing is, get them in the process. Don't be afraid of that. Give them a platform, learn from them, and embrace that humility in your life. Always be seeking those outside resources. Always be seeking that creative community. Another thought on this is talk to everyone the same. Talk to everyone as if they're your boss, as if they're your employee, as if they're your friend. You want to share that mutual respect. And I think sometimes we like to change the way we talk, when we're in different rooms. I just love being around people that I know that that's exactly who they are all the time. Those are the people I want to be around. I think it's a challenge for us as creatives. Sometimes we can kind of change a little bit, whether we're on a platform or at home, or we just got to really challenge ourselves to not do that. Just embrace who you are. Embrace that humility. I mentioned find the fringes. This might be a little borderline phrase, but embrace the weirdos, okay? Find those people in your life that are a little weird and help expand who you are as a creative. Know that you don't know that world. We just talked about that, right? The things that you know, embrace that in your life and embrace the humility. Last thought on humility is don't let success go to your head and don't let failure go to your heart. This is a quote from Seth Godin. I don't know if you don't read Seth Godin, you probably should. I read him as like a devotional every day. It's a problem for me. But don't let success go to your head and don't let failure go to your heart. It's a great way to guard yourself and to just embrace humility as a creative. So, number 2, celebrate others. Embrace humility and celebrate others. How to discover your own voice, unlock those creative networks, and empower it in other people. Celebrate others. Be that champion for other people. Everyone knows that feeling when someone comes to you and they recognize something you have put your heart and soul into, and they affirm it in you. I think, I heard someone say the other day, we need to focus less on being successful and more just being a blessing. And I think that really challenged me. I think as creatives, oftentimes we're so focused on making something work or making an idea happen, we forget to just, what if we just celebrated other people? What if we just saw what God is doing in them and celebrated that? Critiquing, for example. Critiquing, we like to use that word, but often it just becomes criticism. And I think we can combat that with celebration. I think we can change culture when we start celebrating others around us. We think about confidence. I'm a big confidence guy, and by that I mean, if I don't have confidence, I'm just going to keep failing. I remember years ago trying to be in a studio and just play a guitar part, and I could not do it. And it was 40 takes later, and it got worse and worse and worse. That kind of feeling. And I think confidence is so important to creatives. So here's the cool thing: you can build confidence. And you can build it in someone else. And so be that person that's celebrating people and building that into them. And it's amazing what it starts unlocking in them. And then God backfills it in your life as well. So embrace humility. Be someone who celebrates people. Third thought is this: be generous. Be a generous creative. What if you just gave your best ideas away? That song that you worked on for 10 years and you finally got it hooked, give it away. Get someone else in the project. Give it to someone else. What if you gave your best? See, I think a lot of times we come from a place of scarcity, and we're afraid that God's not going to give us another idea. And we need to just start giving away, and God will backfill that with more and more ideas. Be generous with your work. Be empathetic. We just talked about, how do you activate your community in terms of worship? Be empathetic to your audience. Understand how can I minister? How can I support them? Not just introduce that new song because I love it, or not just introduce that new idea because it's cool, but how can I be empathetic to my community and design an experience or a song or art in a way that connects with them? That's a way you can be generous. I think another topic in the area of generosity is trust, and I think we can be generous with our trust. Probably a couple months ago, you ever have one of those moments where someone finally puts a phrase to something you have sort of believed for a long time, but you just couldn't, you just can't get there. So Craig Groeschel, I'm sure you know who that is, on a leadership podcast talked about empowering people. And he said, trust is, we've heard for a long time, trust is earned. And he said, I don't believe that. I believe trust is given and mistrust is earned. And if you haven't heard that podcast, go find it. It's really good. But for me, that was like, finally, that is what I believed forever. That so often we hang on to something and we wait until someone proves it, that they're good enough for them to be in our network or to be in our group of friends or to be in. We need to be generous with our trust, generous with our creativity, offer it to other people, invite people into the process. And I believe that turns into something really good in our lives. So never question goodwill, effort, or intent. Trust isn't earned. Mistrust is, okay? Here's just a little fun bonus idea, and then I have one last thought for you. Bonus idea: let's just have some fun, right? Yeah. Quit taking ourselves so seriously. We're not these like I said, off in the wood. We're not that. Let's be real, just normal, fun people that people like to be around. And if we're not doing that, we're not doing our jobs. But let me leave you with this thought. If you want to start discovering your voice, you're looking for that creative moment, you want to empower others, you want to create a culture, a network, or whatever you want to call it around you that is just inspired and creative, and the Lord's doing fun things and new things every day. Here's the thought. Open your hands. Let me unpack this just for 1 minute. When we look in Matthew 14, Jesus and the disciples doing ministry, they've done it all day long, and it's a super familiar story. There's this huge group of people, and they're going to go home for the day, and the disciples say, just send them home. Send them home to go get food on their own. Just go, it's fine. And Jesus says, no, that's not necessary. You feed them. You feed them. And of course, the reply is, well, how are we going to do that? We don't have enough. We don't have what we need to feed that crowd of 5,000 people plus, right? We don't have that. Why is it that our response is often, like I was saying, from a place of scarcity, from fear, from doubt? Jesus wasn't asking if they had enough. That's not what he was asking. He was just asking for them to step out, right? And he's not asking if you have enough, if you have that right idea. He's asking for what you already have. He's not asking for you to be that songwriter. He's not asking for you to be that worship leader, the one you see online. He's not asking you to do that. He's asking you to do what you are, who you are, to live the calling that God's put on your life. I just believe someone needs to hear that you've been trying to earn sort of a creative salvation for years. You got to give it up. There's nothing that you're earning. You need to just open your hands and look at what God has already given you. I have 3 little kids, and I think of my little kids downstairs playing with the crafts, and I just can't believe the cool things they come up with like next to nothing. They just put things together, glue it, and then you find it glued to the wall somewhere. Okay, tape is okay. Don't glue it to the wall, but it's amazing what these little kids with nothing are doing. And sometimes we just operate from this place of scarcity. And I just believe that we need to, if we're looking for that creative breakthrough, it starts looking at what we already have. And here's the fun thing. In that story, if the disciples would have said, sure, we'll feed them, we'll take the kids' food and go give it away, they would have run out just like that, right? It wasn't until they gave it to Jesus that now Jesus could take responsibility for the miracle. And I think it's the same for us. When we give that creative idea to God, that's when he can do something with it. But if we hang on to it, we'll lose it, right? That's what Scripture teaches us. So I just want to encourage you, if you're looking to build that network, you're looking to unlock this new level of creativity in your life or people around you, I believe that, yes, be generous, be humble, be someone who celebrates people. But I believe that some of you just need to look at what you already have and believe that that is what God has called you to. Amen? Thank you so much for letting me share today. Great to be with you guys.